And is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, folks. So let's get started. If you could please mute yourself, and then we'll do a quick Q&A afterwards. All right. Okay. So thank you all for joining us today. This is Tuesday, 2 p.m. for the UTA Balcones Recycling training. Oops. Okay. Thank you, UTA Green Team. So this is just an image of what our Balcones Dallas facility looks like. I want to thank you and for your time, for the opportunity. Like I said earlier, my name is Victoria Acevedo. I'm the education coordinator at Balcones Recycling. I'm based in Austin, but I do trainings and tours for the public and customers in all of our markets in Austin and Dallas. If you are familiar with who we are, who Balcones Resources, more power to you. Thank you. Just want to do a quick overview of who we are as a company. So Balcones Resources, we're an established recycling company. We have our headquarters are here in Austin, Texas. We were funded in 1994, so we've been in the recycling business for quite a while. We have facilities in Texas, Arkansas, and Florida, and always looking for to expand and looking to acquire more recycling facilities. We are a single stream processor in the Dallas area, so we process recycling for commercial customers throughout the entire area. We also have the ability to do document destruction through our Balcones Shred division in Dallas. One thing that isn't on this slide is Balcones Recycling is unique in that we are not associated with the landfill. We began just as a strictly paper recycler, and at our core, we're still strictly a recycler, and that remains our entire company mission throughout all of our facilities. Just kind of like a general overview of what we offer as a company. Like I said, we're recycling services. We also provide electronic recycling. We do waste audits for our customers. We do recycling audits to kind of determine what our contamination and trash rates are. We do provide containers, signage, and decals, recycling trainings such as this one, and environmental reporting for all of our customers. This is just a brief overview of what our recycling process is. After all recycling is placed in receptacles or recycling, they're brought to us either via our own trucks or via haulers. If we have a municipality contract, then the city will bring the recycling to us. But in Dallas, we haul our own material. So we do recycling collection for residential customers, for industrial customers as well. And once that material is brought into our facility, we have processes in place to sort cardboard, paper, metal, and plastics. And once all of that commingled recycling is sorted, and separated into each individual commodity and into each individual recycler, we bale it up and we ship it off to secondary reprocessors via truck, rail car, or shipping containers. Briefly, inside the recycling facility, our facilities use a mix of sorters, human sorters, and specialized equipment to go through all the recyclables. Non-conforming large items must be picked off first by our sorters. It's just a reminder to keep recycling as clean as possible. So why is recycling so important? Number one, to reduce landfill space. Landfill space isn't infinite. And then to prevent contamination within our communities. The more we recycle, the more these items don't end up in our waterways and our drinking waterways and the environment. And most of all, and most importantly, is all these recyclables, paper, plastic, aluminum, they have the potential to be processed into something new. And just generally, if you're if we are being conscious of how we're recycling, we maintain the safety of all of our warehouse staff. And I would like to show you a brief video. It's about 3 minutes or so of what our Dallas facility actually takes in for recycling.
There's no voice. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
Is there not? Okay.
Yeah, there's no voice.
Sorry about that, folks. Okay, let's try this again. Are you able to hear that now?
No, I can't hear it.
No.
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 One second. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. I went on to our YouTube. I'm going to play it from my desktop. Please let me know if you aren't able to hear it.
It needs to be louder.
No, it's barely.
Is that better?
No,
we still can't hear
we can't hear it.
Madeline said in the chat that you might have to reshare your screen and include sound that way.
Sorry, folks. Dealing with dual screens is not the funnest. Is that better?
I think we could hear it. Yeah.
There it is.
All right, awesome. Fine. All right, sincerely apologize about that. I didn't realize there was a little option to include computer sound. Okay, here we go.
Did you know that Dallas committed to becoming a zero-waste city by 2040? We're dedicated to making this happen. And the most important part of reaching this goal is who. We use a SingleCycle program that lets you place all acceptable items into a single container. We accept many forms of paper and cardboard. We take care of the paper clips, staples, and tape. Recycle rigid plastic and aluminum cans. Plastic lids are okay too. No need to rinse them, just make sure they've been emptied out. Emptied tin cans, glass jars, and bottles, as well as metal lids are not accepted. No food waste, restroom waste, styrofoam, landscaping debris, grease, or oil is accepted. Remove any soiled paper from the recycling bin. Used pizza boxes are never accepted. Common unaccepted items we receive are aerosol cans, toner, paint cans, wood, and garden hoses. Please keep these out of your recycling bin. For a more thorough list of accepted items, please visit our website, and let's make a difference.
All right, so that was our little training video. Go back to the main screen. We can do the remaining presentation away from that. Okay, so these are the decals we place on all of our FPL/dumpster recycling containers. They list out the items we accept for plastic, our paper, aluminum, and our phone number. You'll see these on every single one of our recycling containers. Each of our facilities, the ones in Austin, Dallas, and Little Rock, the ones in Texas, the Austin, Dallas, and Taylor will all have very similar branded stickers, so they're all easily recognizable. And this is also what we hand out to the public. They're just our run-of-the-mill recycling guidelines, what we take in, what we don't take in, kind of just quick reminders. Another brief run over of what we do take. So we take in paper, newspaper, cardboard, plastic bottles, and aluminum cans. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on what we don't take in our SingleCycle program. We cannot accept nor process large and bulky items such as furniture, appliances, tires, electronics, refrigerators. We've seen it all. Mattresses come into our facilities. And while there are outlets for a lot of these commodities and items, none of our facilities at any of our states or any of our locations can process bulk large items. Our systems are designed for single stream recycling, and that's usually either single stream commercial or your curbside recycling. So these items are just, there's no way that it'll run through any of our machinery. While we do have electronic recycling at some of our facilities, they are not accepted in our SingleCycle program. Electronics do pose a fire hazard, and if the battery is still active, if the device itself is still has some battery charge, they do pose a threat for our not only our warehouse employees, but our drivers as well. They are potential fire hazards. We've had a few fires in our Austin division caused by, we believe, electronics that were improperly disposed of in our SingleCycle program. Any electronics that we do accept for recycling, they have to be and must be in a separate stream, not in our SingleCycle commingled recycling streams. And I do believe, I'm moving on to organics and dirt. I do believe we have a compactor on the UTA campus that is fairly close to one of the dining halls, if I'm correct. And we do see quite a few contamination from food, organics, dirt, brush, tree brush, yard debris, food and kitchen waste. While we are equipped to handle a little bit of each, food, oil, moisture, any liquids do pose a large threat to contaminating the rest of the recyclables. Food and oil especially are really hard for our facility to remove, and most secondary processors won't want material that is food and oil stained. Any products, paper products that have any food or any type of oil liquid, such as paper napkins, paper towels, those items are best suited for composting or the landfill if that's an option. But anything that has been touched by food or oil or just completely drenched in water, especially for any paper products, must be either composted or thrown away. And there is absolutely no way we can remove food once it has touched paper or products. And unfortunately, we do see quite a few hazardous materials coming into our facility. We've seen syringes from our medical customers. We've seen paint cans filled with paint. We've seen weaponry, guns disposed of, stuff that you wouldn't think that would go through a recycling stream. Unfortunately, we've seen it all. And there are outlets for hazardous material. Unfortunately, since we are focused on single stream and customer single stream recycling, we don't accept hazardous materials, medical waste at any of our facilities. Another kind of term we use in the recycling industry are tanglers for hoses that become tangled in our machinery, and that's usually hoses or wire, cables, rope. That should be rope, not robe, sorry. Holiday lights, anything that's very flexible and thin, that could be potentially, could just get tangled in all our equipment. We don't want necessarily, because it poses not only a hazard to our staff who have to get into the machinery and equipment to remove all of these tanglers, it just slows down the recycling process, and we're not able to process and bill as much material as we want to and become as efficient as we need to. So that's why we ask the public and our customers to remove or properly dispose of anything that could potentially become a tangler at our facilities. Another kind of misconception and myth in the recycling industry is film plastics and styrofoam. We don't accept those in our SingleCycle program. Film plastic, grocery bags, shopping bags, take-out bags. Usually what I suggest to the public and to our customers is to take that to drop-off centers or drop-off facilities. Like, I know H-E-B and Walmart, a bunch of these grocery stores will have drop-off containers for film plastics. Styrofoam is a contaminant we don't accept, nor can we process. I like to think that it's 90% air, and once it hits our facility and once it goes through our equipment, it breaks down and it just becomes what I like to call styrofoam confetti. And it's really hard for us to capture any of that once it's been broken down. Maybe FedEx and other stores do tend to take styrofoam packaging for reuse, but for film plastics and styrofoam, that's one of the items we consider contaminants. Sorry. We don't take glass at our Dallas facility. In our SingleCycle program, I'm sure there are other outlets for glass. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. And when I'm referring to tanglers, this is the damage that it could cause and the operational challenges it poses when we see these items come in. So a lot of it is plastic. Wrapping, hoses, textiles, and clothing are also considered tangler. Anything that can wrap around pretty much wire, any cabling, any stuff like that. And while there are outlets for that, we don't tend to accept it because it just gets tangled up in a machinery. You can see the photo on the right is one of our employees at the Austin facility. They're going to have to manually cut everything out in order to process all the recyclables. Kind of just a couple guidelines. Follow the guidelines on containers. Any posted signage. Is the item recyclable or trash? What we do see a lot of when the recycling container is full, though you'll throw it away into the trash, or vice versa. The recycling container is not another trash dumpster. They are two different receptacles. Recycling, anything that's posted on the container, those are the acceptable items only. And a lot of municipalities will have different guidelines. I like to tell folks to follow whatever's posted signage is on the container itself. It's not another trash dumpster. Another kind of saying that we hear a lot in the industry is, when in doubt, throw it out. If you don't know, it's better to throw it out instead of what we consider wish cycling, where folks will assume that an item is recyclable without knowing it and end up wishing that it'll get recycled in the long run. When in fact, a lot of the wish cycling causes more damage than any good. Just a quick reminder, we like to let our folks know that if you must use bags for recycling to contain all the recyclables into a bag, please use clear bags for recycling and dark bags for trash. The reason we suggest clear bags for recycling is that when these bags come in and when they're dropped off into the facility, our sorters can know what's inside, what the contents is in the bag. As opposed to a black bag, we won't know, the sorters won't know if there's any contaminants, any hazardous materials, syringes, any of that. And they're also trained not to open bags that they can't see through. So it's very important that any recyclables that do come into our facility are bagged in clear or at least transparent bags, so we know what's inside the contents of each bag. And I looked at our system, and it looks like from January of 2014 to August of 2021, the entire UTA campus has conserved 16,500 trees and prevented all of that lumber from going to the paper, pulp, and lumber industries. So that's a huge win. That campus has also saved 5.4 million kilowatts of energy and prevented 971 tons of CO2 and greenhouse gases from going into the atmosphere. Saved 6.7 million gallons of water from being used to produce new materials and new packaging that will end up using a lot of virgin materials such as oil and water, and conserved almost 118,000 feet of landfill space. So again, congratulations, those are all huge wins. Thank you. And I think that is it for that. I kind of just want to open it up to questions too. Like I said, I'm the education coordinator at Balcones. Listed my email here. For anyone who's interested, I've also posted our customer service email account. If you have any questions on accounts or anybody needs to get a hold of dispatch and scheduling here, our recycling services there. And of course, you can learn more about us at balconesresources.com. And then just wanted to open up to any questions, concerns, any suggestions, comments. questions on plastics. One thing I didn't mention is that for recyclables, anything that's smaller than the palm of your hand will probably not be recovered. So that's kind of one of those things to keep in mind. But I want to open it up now to any questions anyone may have.
Yeah, it looks like we have a couple of questions in the chat.
All right, let's see.
I missed it when you said what to do with glass.
So for the Dallas facility, we don't take glass. That will have to be disposed of either in the trash or through another outlet.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's that?
I said thank you.
Okay.
Someone else asked about what to do with red Solo cups.
Red Solo cups. So, oh, I did forget to mention this part. At the bottom of most plastics can be a little tricky to recycle. At the bottom of most plastic containers, you will see a number with 3 chasing arrows underneath it. So I'm going to speak for all plastic packaging manufacturers on this. But that number in the chasing arrows doesn't necessarily mean it can be processed by all recyclers and municipalities. Things like plastics 1 and 2, number 1 plastic is usually HDPE, so that's your like laundry containers. Your PET. So 1 and 2 are highly recyclable. Number 3 is a little iffy. Number 4 is usually your film plastics. And number 5 is usually your PPE. Number 6 is usually styrofoam products or products that are very flimsy. And number 7 is usually a catch-all for everything. So solo cups, I think, are number 6. As long as they're not a black plastic, I think they should be okay to put in your recycling. I'll have to check and verify. But for all plastics, we want bottled containers. Not any film plastics, not any bread bags or grocery bags. Plastic containers, usually anything with a nozzle, if it has a spray at the end, properly dispose of the spray bottle. But any of the bottles, as long as they're clean and dry, should be okay. And then I'm going to go through these other questions. So somebody asked, what about paper that got wet with water and has been completely dried out? So that's a good question. Paper, unlike glass and aluminum, is not indefinitely recyclable. So glass and aluminum can be recycled indefinitely. Plastics and paper tend to degrade after a while. So I would suggest for any paper that has been wet and dried out to be composted, only because paper after a certain time, after maybe 6 or 7 times it's been reused and recycled, that the paper thread tends to shorten. And what I mean by that is it becomes more of like a tissue paper, like paper towels, napkins. All of that material is just better off composted. Most paper rails won't want something that's been either crushed, soiled, or wet, pretty much. And Morgan, I see you have your hand up. You have a question?
Yeah, so I've been seeing this thing about black plastic that you were talking about. Does that mean just like black plastic plumbing pipes, or like any plastic that is black in color?
So, one, we won't take black plumbing at any of our facilities. What we mean by containers is kind of your beverage containers, your cleaning product containers, anything with a 1 or 2, 5 number on it. So for black plumbing, we won't be able to take that in at all. Let's put to-go containers. I think they are a number 5, and you'll see it under the recycling on the little on the bottom of it with the recycling symbol on it. For plastics, we have optical sorters and infrared and high-tech technology that can read the chemical composition of plastics. So unfortunately, for a lot of our facilities, our secondary plastic buyers do not want black plastic, as it becomes increasingly difficult to remove that black ink from the plastic itself. Usually our plastic buyers want either clear plastics, kind of like your water bottles, or your laundry detergent bottles, usually which are colored, either orange or clear. But any black plastics won't be read by our machinery because it is black, unfortunately. That has to do with the color and both the infrared. It just doesn't read it properly once the plastic has been dyed black. Does that answer your question, Morgan?
Yeah, thanks. I wasn't sure if it was just for the plumbing, but that does clear it up, that it really is just like any plastic that's dyed black. Don't put it in single stream.
Yeah, and unfortunately that goes for the to-go containers. And before I made the mistake of actually putting black to-go containers in the recycling, because I figured, oh well, it's a plastic we accept, but because it's dyed black, it'll just end up going to the landfill.
Yeah.
Any other questions coming in? Okay, it says UT Arlington is like its own city. It's big, probably more than 60,000 counting students, faculty, and staff. If there's one thing you could recommend for UTA people to do to help with recycling, what would it be? A lot of things. Well, I like to think that the first step into knowing how to recycle properly is to look at the recycling guidelines for each container. Since we are across the nation, we service various customers, various municipalities who all have different guidelines. And to try to keep up with all of them can be a little tedious, but it's important to reach out to whoever your processor is, whoever the city is. And since UTA and Balcones has a partnership and there's not a middleman, we can offer those resources and those recycling guidelines to everyone at UTA. And also by helping out your colleagues, peers, if you see something incorrect, or if you see a friend throwing something away, kind of just like, hey, here's the guidelines for this. It is a communal effort, and the recycling industry is constantly evolving, and it varies from municipality, from city, and from each location. So kind of just what does this processor recycle? And I like to think that reusables are much better than single disposable items. Reusable water bottles, reusable utensils, tote bags, things that can be used, cleaned often instead of disposable. One thing I failed to mention is cutlery, single-use plastic cutlery. Most recycling processors won't be able to capture that. It's so small. Kind of like our guideline is, if the plastic item is smaller than 3 by 3 by 3 inches or smaller than palm of your hand, we won't be able to capture it properly. And there's a lot of nuances, but reminder that paper, cardboard, newspaper, plastic bottles, aluminum cans will always be highly desirable recyclables, as long as they are clean, free of food, and free of oil. All right, here's another question. If recyclable paper gets bundled in plastic bags, how is that handled? A lot of our system is automated. Most of our facilities are equipped with a pre-sort line where human sorters will actually shake the bags a little bit. But if paper items are bagged, bundled in with plastic, they may just end up either the equipment will probably shake it, hopefully we'll shake it off, but we want, bottom line, we want recyclables as much as possible. And while it is convenient to carry other recyclables in boxes or put them in paper bags or other bags, we want recycling to be as loose as possible so they can go into the proper streams. So it's kind of like you have a 50-50 chance of the equipment raiding the plastic bag and throwing it away, or the machinery actually shaking it out. But my suggestion is empty out recyclables and you reuse the bag or do something else with the bag, but empty out recyclables. We want recyclables loose and free of other stuff. Madeline, see that you have a question.
Sorry. Is it necessary to remove the tape or staples from any boxes that we might be receiving to recycle those?
Nope. Tape is fine. Staples is fine. Any labels is fine. That also goes for plastic bottles. That's all fine. They can be all taken care of. Those are minor things. But I will say for some plastic containers, they do have shrink wrap. I wish I had one to show you on. A plastic wrapping that covers the entirety of the bottle, and that will need to be removed in order for our machinery to read it correctly, because that plastic shrink wrap that is covering the bottle is a different type of plastic than the plastic bottle itself. So if you see it, just go ahead and remove it. But and that only goes for the ones that are covering the entirety of the bottle. Yeah, but tape, staples is fine.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You have any other questions? I'm trying to think. Bottle caps are fine to put on. We don't want to recycle them separately because they'll eventually end up being thrown away. What else? I think I already mentioned it, but clothing, textiles, we won't want any of that. I spoke to one of our folks here at the UT campus, and they have a lot of, what do you call it, test tubes and very small packaging. Unfortunately, Petri dishes, we won't be able to take those on. They're too small. Compostable items. So we do tend to see a lot of that coming into our facility. Plastic compostable water cups, I think will have a number 7 on them. Number 7 is literally just a catch-all for all recyclables. And because they are not derived of fossil fuels or oil and derived of plant-based matter, they're better suited for a composting facility, which we're not fully capable of doing. So anything that is labeled biodegradable, biocompostable, that's made from plant cellulose, does not belong in the recycling. It should be disposed of in the appropriate organic streams. All right, here's another question. What if we have a whole bunch of smaller than palm of hand items of the exact same type of recyclable plastic? How best to get those into the recycling stream? So we won't be able to take any of that stuff. I do recommend, I'm going to type it in here. SingleCycle is an amazing organization. They can take odds and ends of literally everything. They take in batteries, they take in makeup product packaging, they even take in used cigarette butts to repurpose for benching and to use it as other items. They take in chip bags, which we're not capable of properly recycling since they are considered a film plastic. They're capable of taking electronics and hazardous and vape pens, and they will find the appropriate outlets to recycle those items. So I would highly recommend checking out TerraCycle to see if any of those smaller items are one of the items that it can accept. But unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that you just mentioned, Morgan, may just have to be may end up going to the landfill. I think they even accept paper used crayons and used pencils and stuff like that. But for a majority of recyclers, if the item is small, it'll just become a contaminant and or contaminate their glass streams. Here in Austin, we process glass, and a lot of the stuff you had just mentioned will just probably end up contaminating the glass stream. So I'd like to think if it's smaller than 3 by 3 by 3, the palm of your hand, smaller than a water bottle, it will end up as trash. I know a lot of folks, including myself, want to save every single bit of the tags and all that stuff, but the reality is for a lot of recyclers, it's just really hard to capture something so small. Does that answer your question? Do we have any more questions or something that I didn't cover or something you want to learn about? Single-use coffee pods. Those are an item we won't take in. Even if they are recyclable, they are fairly small. I think Keurig has a system in place, a take back program to take those back. TerraCycle also has one of those programs. You purchase the box, and then once it's filled up, you take it to them. They'll ship it back to their facilities, and they'll reprocess it there. But like I said, K-Cup pods are just too small for our SingleCycle program. So unfortunately, we don't take them in, but they are definitely other outlets to process those. You have any other questions? Anything else that I didn't cover? Anything you'd like to discuss further?
I guess I got one quick question, if we got time for it. The question about like if recyclable paper gets bundled in plastic bags, you said like sometimes it gets shaken out, but sometimes it just becomes a contaminant and ends up in the landfill. So what's the best way then to like collect paper to then get into that stream if it's not in a plastic bag?
Loose recyclables or in a clear plastic bag. I believe, I'm not sure how many compactors are on the UTA campus, but clear bags are the way to go. Like I said, they could be destroyed and opened up by our warehouse employees, but if it's paper products within a plastic bag, within another plastic bag, within another plastic bag, kind of just adds a little bit more operational challenges for us. But we want all of our recyclables to be as loose as possible in the container. So that way when they get to our facility, our equipment can just go ahead and feed it into our machinery, and then it can be just read off. So the least amount of bags as possible and as loose as possible.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
You said you take the batteries, so are we, do we through single stream recycling at Balcones UTA, do we do that now? What types of batteries do you recycle?
So, sorry, we don't currently take batteries for recycling at any of our facilities. I will have to check with our general manager in Dallas to see if we currently do electronic recycling, but we don't do battery recycling in Dallas. Sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, and UTA actually, we're currently working on launching our e-waste program, which would take batteries. So, so that program is basically we're going to have just different e-waste drop-off locations, like different kind of trash bin or e-waste bins where you could put in your e-waste, which includes batteries, and then we have a contractor who's going to be emptying it out periodically.
Okay, Madi just asked, where can we find a list of items we can and cannot recycle? I'll absolutely share all the resources we have for what items we can't, what items we can and can't recycle, and then also share the page on of our website. Go ahead and email everyone my email. Feel free to reach out to me directly for any questions. I like to think I'm the recycling guru. And if I don't have the appropriate answer, I can definitely reach out to our operations team and let them know if that's something we can process. We do deal a lot with SingleCycle, with residential curb recycling. We have customers who call us about weird industrial plastics. So we have folks at every single level to answer all types of questions. It's just a matter of if we recycle it or not.
I have an additional question. You say things that are smaller than 3x3 likely to end up in landfill. So you have a plastic bottle that has a lid. A lot of times the lids are a different plastic than the bottle itself. So we leave that attached.
Yes, you can leave the bottle caps on the lid, and then the secondary plastic recyclers will take care of the rest. But if the plastic bottles are by themselves, they're just kind of floating around in your recycling container or in the compactor, they'll get lost and they'll fall through the cracks of our equipment. So if you want to go ahead and leave the bottle caps on, perfect. All right, guys. Does anybody have any other questions? I don't want to take up too much of your time. All right, well, thank you all so much. Thank you for the patience. I had not realized that video would not play. I really appreciate y'all sticking around with me and learning as we go to recycle properly. Feel free to reach out to me. My email is victoria@balconesresources.com. I'll go ahead and follow up with an email with all of our recycling resources and our website links and share the remaining of our videos. Like I said, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help with any recycling questions. I love answering all these type of questions. The recycling industry is there's a lot of gray area. There are definitely lots of points where we can improve on. A lot of municipalities, different places will not take in recyclables. So it's good to know what Balcones can do and what we can do for y'all moving forward. And thank you for joining us. Bergarvi, if you have any other remarks, questions, I'll turn it down to you if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. Thank you so much, Victoria. No, this has been super useful, and yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for the opportunity for letting me all speak to y'all this afternoon, and hopefully you'll hear from me soon. Like I said, feel free to reach out. Have a great day.
Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank